Okay, so I tried recording this about like thrice yesterday, and I just couldn't get into the vibe, and I don't know why. Because don't get me wrong, it's not like, yeah, I tried, but I wasn't getting into it because Arc 14 does dog shit. No, Arc 14 was great. I really enjoyed it. I think there was maybe like something here or there. I was like, I'm not as crazy about this. But I generally really liked it. I'm like, why? I don't know. I really don't know why I couldn't get into it, but I don't know. I'm sitting on the beanbag chair. I'm in my room. There's the Golden Witch Beatrice. Maybe that'll help. So, what happens in Arc 14? So, it is the ending of our the Slaughterhouse 9 arc. A handful of them still escape, so I am assuming even if they're gone, they are definitely gonna be not forgotten, and they'll probably show up again throughout the story. I think my friend had told me, he's like, okay, so once you meet your first Endbringer, just kind of put a pin in that. You will meet the others. They are going to show up and just kind of be a constant threat throughout the story, just whenever the Endbringers feel like doing things. And the 9 are going to be similar. They're going to show up again, and they are going to just, once they're introduced, consistently be a problem. He didn't name any specific members. I'm just assuming since Jack and Bonesaw escaped, Jack and Bonesaw is going to be a problem for the rest of the story. But I'm kind of assuming that every now and then when they show up again, it's, oh, here's another 3 members, another 4 members. You're like, oh, I guess Hookwolf is dead, which I guess I'll say that's probably the one thing off the top of my head that I really didn't care for was Hookwolf joining, and I know I had said, like, I feel like it's against his character, and there's a reason for it, and I'm like, I don't know how much I like the reason in terms of that. Again, if the whole thing with the 9 is we're going to take a volunteer, it doesn't make sense if it, I mean, I guess it's the 9, so it's not like they're really playing by the rules, but also, I mean, if Brockton Bay is breaking the rules and the 9 can break their rules too, I guess when I look at it from that perspective, when I look at it from the perspective of once the games are done, if most of the nominees, thank you, I don't know what word I was trying to think. I was like, if most of the nominees are still alive, we'll concede our loss and take a volunteer. But if the guy is like brainwashed or like his paranoia is acting up and he doesn't know who's who, he's not really a volunteer. It's like, yeah, but they're villains. They're assholes. They're not gonna really play with a code of honor. No, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, they would totally do that. So even the one thing where I was like, I'm not sure about it, nah, it works. Actually getting into some of the shit that happened. So the first major thing to happen in Arc 14 is the Undersiders go big game hunting. They are hunting Siberian, and Siberian is doing some hunting of her own because that's what her tests tend to be. It is, I will hunt a contestant or a nominee, and every time I catch them, I give them a penalty. And when there's no penalties left, I kill them. And again, I'm not sure if, because they say she eats them alive, and she's targeting Amy, and every time she catches up to her, she just takes a finger. And yeah, I had said this in an earlier attempt to record, just I don't like fingers getting messed with. There's this scene in, I think it's Grand Budapest, where a dude gets like, was it Willem Dafoe? I remember Willem Dafoe. No, I think it was Willem Dafoe did it to Jeff Goldblum, if I'm remembering the Grand Budapest Hotel correctly, where he gets a door slammed on his fingers and the fingers fall off, and then the assailant opens the door and just collects the fingers, and I'm just watching it going, oh, that's not okay. I hope they don't hit each other too hard. So that's what Siberian is doing, and so I don't know if her thing is, I eat you piece by piece, and when there's no real good pieces left, then I just kill you, or if it's you get like a 3-strike rule, because I don't remember how many fingers she took. I think she took about 2 or 3. But Amy is running for her life, Amy is fighting for her life, and poor girl is not doing so well. So the Undersiders are trying to help. I think it was Taylor's using her bugs to feel out the area, and she starts like using the bugs and like making giant arrows like, go this way, or stop, run, go left, like using the bugs to spell out words. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that's super neat. I like her doing that a lot. Eventually, they're able to help Amy get her away from Siberian, and they start targeting the stand user. Because at the end of 13, when Gru gets his new powers, so that's another thing to bring up as well. I wasn't sure reading part 13 is Gru being able to like kind of take the powers of the people in the area. Is that just genuinely what he can now do? Or is that because he's having a trigger event, and it's specifically the second trigger event, is this just, I guess, no better way of saying it, is this the universe just kind of trying to figure out, okay, how do we want to deal with this? Maybe let's take some influence from some of the other powers in the area and see what we can do to maybe give him something new or improve what he already has. Because I don't really know the grand design of how all this shit works. I just kind of know there is one. And I also know, with the little bit I've read of Arc 15. I finished 14. I'm about a couple hours into 15. I'm actually at Brian's interlude. Is from reading Brandish's interlude, when she had her trigger event, she did kind of have this whole moment where, like, she was, like, seeing shit. I think it was, like, she saw this giant egg, and there were people dancing around the egg, and I don't know if that was other people having their trigger events, or if that was heaven. And I don't know how this shit works. I just know there's a way it works. So my point is, I don't know if Gru having access to other powers was part of the grand design of the moment, or if that's just what he can do. Arc 14 confirms, no, this is just something he can do. So I'm glad I have confirmation on that. When he's in that moment where he's first borrowing powers, he summons this, like, shadowy projection, and that's what murdered Burnscar, which made me sad. I thought Burnscar was really cool. Again, I just love that scene where she's reading a graphic novel and then just like, and then using her fire to just, like, project images from the novel. Like, that was neat. That was so cool. Anyways. So the Undersiders and the Travelers, like, earlier in part 14, like, okay, let's figure this out. That projection is not something you can normally do. Thus, we can infer that was someone else's power. That is something none of us can do. Something none of the Travelers can do, and is not an established power of anyone else in the Slaughterhouse 9. The only power in the 9 we don't really understand is Siberian. So maybe that was what Siberian's power is. Maybe she's a stand. Now, they don't ever use the term stand, but I watch JoJo, so that's how I understand it. That's really what she is. It's a projection that has some kind of range to it, has some kind of, like, it's really strong, but those benefits don't always apply to the user. And if the stand user is in peril, the stand is going to die and be destroyed. Now, it's not that if the user takes damage, the stand takes damage, but it is, if his concentration flickers, then the stand will... He has to focus on his stand to be using it, and if you're beating the shit out of him, he ain't going to be focusing on his stand. But the stand itself is invincible, and anything it touches, seemingly aside from the stand user, becomes invincible. And, like, weightless, all that kind of weird shit. So, they decide, we're going to go after Siberian. We are going to try to find her stand user. They call Cherish to see what kind of info they can get, which mostly it's just her needling them as much as she can, but then kind of is like, yeah, like, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember exactly what she said. It's like, look for, like, a weak, sickly dude. Or it was something that Tattletale was getting while talking to her, but they're like, okay, let's find a weaker, older dude nearby in the area who's able to keep up with Siberian. Okay, he's keeping up with Siberian. He's probably in a vehicle. There it is. So, after they save Amy, there is this chase scene of a truck, Siberian on top of the truck, making the truck invincible, and the Undersiders, the Travelers, and Panacea, all of them bitches' dogs. You're like, this is a dog car chase. This feels like something I would have seen in Symphogear. This is amazing. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I don't know if she does it here as well. There's at least a point later when she's fighting Legend where Siberian is just like lifting the truck like it's nothing and is just using a truck sword. And all I'm thinking is, okay, in the worm fighting game, this is her level 3, where she just takes the truck and just beats the crap out of the character. Like, bro, that's gonna be so dope. That was really fun. There's no, the part with Glory Girl didn't happen yet. That's with Crawler, so hold off on that. After they save Amy, they have a conversation with her, but like, okay, we saved you. We would appreciate your help because, believe it or not, you are an incredibly powerful person and your power can do a lot for us right now. We're not asking you to like join the villains or anything, although they're like, I mean, you're kind of cool. Do you want to join our club? Which I was like, oh. I know I was saying, like, I kind of want her to join the 9 because of how interesting that would be, but her as a permanent party member, I'd be kind of down with that, too. But, she's like, I'm a good guy. I don't want to join the villains. I also hate you, because she's just on site with Tattletale, which I totally understand. But, doing the snappy thing again. She does decide, I am going to help. And what she does is she starts buffing Skitter's bugs by making... She essentially is amplifying their range so Skitter can see more of the area, so she can scout better, try to find Siberian better, etc., etc. There's also a point, and I don't think it was now, it was a little bit later, where she just makes a giant beetle. And, you know, they're talking about, like, oh, yeah, it's like this big Hercules beetle. And, like, oh, we got to give the thing a name. And my brain immediately went... Hercules is too easy. Let's call him Atlas. That's a good Greek mythology, like, term, and if he's gonna be her mount because he can fly and Atlas is holding up the world, that's perfect. And that's literally what they name him, and I was like, yes! Hell yeah! Like, I love Atlas. Just having this big freaking Heracross that she can ride that's also just unga bunga. Atlas makes me happy. He's a good boy. Brutus was a good boy. Atlas is a good boy. Sorry, my brain just went, okay, Brutus had an interlude at some point. Will Atlas get an interlude? I don't think so. I really don't think so. But that would be such a wild chapter. It just, bzz. Like, I don't even know if he can form coherent thoughts. It'd be like if an entire chapter was narrated by Hodor. Like, oh gosh, that'd be gold. But they're fighting Siberian. They're trying to do whatever damage they can to her, to the stand user. They end up coming across the heroes. This was Legends. Some other people I don't really remember. I don't think the wards were there at the time, because I know they kind of show up later, but Glory Girl was there. And as soon as Amy hears the Glory Girl is there, she just does not want to be there. They tell them, it's like, okay, we're trying to find Siberian. This is kind of how we think her power works. This is what we're trying to do. We are helping. We promise we are helping. You know, truce to deal with the 9. They get a call from Piggy, who informs the Undersiders of the bombing that is going to happen. So, at this point, the teams were split up. I don't remember exactly who was with who. I think, if I remember correctly, it was, as Aisha calls them in part 15, the trio, which is Skitter, Tattletale, and Gru. There were some travelers. My guess is it was Trickster and Sundancer, because I know they're with Trickster and Sundancer later, but I'm not a hundo if that's specifically who they were still with. And on one of the dogs, I think it was Bentley. It might have been Sirius. I think it was Bentley and Amy. They find about the bombing. And the rest of the team, like the rest of the travelers, Alec and Bitch, are over there. I don't remember where Imp was. So Imp was probably over there as well. Or maybe she was recovering. I don't remember. They go to save them. I try to inform them of the bombing. The area gets firebombed, but everyone is able to escape. Clock Blocker used his power. Okay, so there was a hero named Cash. My understanding is he just kind of has hammer space, and he can put people into hammer space. So the plan was, I'm going to save a bunch of us by putting us in a pocket dimension. Clock Blocker is going to use his power on me and on himself, so we are impervious to any damage. And Weld, being Robot Boy and Best Boy, is just kind of going to take the blast, but he's going to also be there to help us if we need help. So, Mannequin and Crawler were in the area with the blast. I think Jack and Bonesaw were there too, but Siberian got them out. So Mannequin and Crawler start fighting Weld. There's this one line that Crawler had that was really mad. I actually wrote it down. It was like, this, what kind of hard? Let's see. Yeah, he was talking to Skinner, and he was telling her, quote, I think this is the exact quote, I could be wrong. It's like, I'll lick your skin until it melts. Again, oh, that's so creepy, but man, that's kind of cool. Bro is just a problem. Like I said, I really like Crawler just because of how just freaky he looks and all the weird shit he can do. It's like, I wanted to see him fight an Endbringer. I wanted to see him fight Lung. And it's not gonna happen. They killed Crawler, and I get it, but I mean, come on. That happens, yeah, the firebombing, fighting Mannequin, Weld, okay. So as this is going on, Weld is doing everything he can to, like, protect Clock Blocker and Cash from Mannequin. Skitter shows up and is trying to help, but the two of them aren't super coordinated, but they're doing their best, and then Crawler shows up, and it's a 2v2, but one of those twos is Crawler, so good luck. Cash and Clock Blocker are able to activate, I guess, like, they're out of chronostasis. Cash uses his power, gets all the other heroes out, and then you have what happens to Glory Girl. Crawler spits on her. And everyone is wearing these, like, hazmat suits. You know, it was something that they talked about at the end of Arc 13. It's like, okay, we're going to have suits for everybody to survive the fucking bombs. And yeah, I have to go ahead and say, Taylor did not use a swarm of cockroaches to absorb the blast from the bombs. And I know that's stupid. And it's not going to happen because it's too stupid. I just want it to happen. I just want to see that. That is like peak goofiness. And that's what being a superhero is all about. It's just like, I want to see some weird, goofy power interactions, and this sounds great. But speaking of power interactions, so you remember how Glory Girl has an aura? And it's just like, yeah, it's all around her body and protects her. It did not protect her from Crawler. That went through the hazmat suit, it went through her aura, and it certainly went through her skin. Glory Girl was melting alive. So Taylor is able to get her out of there with a lot of difficulty. I think it was Glory Girl kind of had to fly, but Taylor is able to get her out and bring her to her team, including Panacea on site. So Panacea wants to save Victoria. Victoria does not want Panacea to touch her. And Panacea's power is so fucking cool. So it's not just, I can touch you and I can heal you. And it's like, I have this understanding of the human body and human anatomy. She specifically says, like, I can only do to a body what a body can naturally do. Like, they talk, and it's like, could you give somebody wings? No, because that's not something a human body can do. I would need a lot of tissue to be able to make the wings, and even if I did, there's no guarantee they would actually work or be able to fly. So what they talk about here is her flesh is melted. Like, it is gone. Her body does not, like, have enough cells and that's kind of my understanding. It's either like the cells or the actual flesh. It's like, there is actually not enough material for me to work with to be able to heal her. But I want to do what I can. Taylor's like, I can give you a bunch of bugs. It's to use as raw material. Like, it's something. It's not much. But maybe just the raw material. Like, you could just, like, stuff a fly in there and use the fly cells. It's insane. But again, it's superpowers. Like, I like that creativity, weird outside the box thinking with this kind of shit. And I think it's really interesting. So they're able to get her stable, at least stable enough, which leads to one of my favorite bits of the arc. It is this conversation Amy has both with Skitter and Tattletale, but almost kind of primarily Tattletale. For all intents and purposes, this is how the conversation goes. Okay, Amy, good job. You say, like, Victoria is allowing you to heal her. You're healing her to the best of her ability, or your ability, excuse me. You keep saying that you fucked up when you messed with her head. She is incredibly angry with you for messing with her head. You now have the power, literally and in a metaphorical sense, to fix your mistake. You're gonna fix it now, right? Yeah, I will. I promise. I totally will. Just not right now. See, I'm gonna mess with her head just a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, to make her more receptive to my touch. I know how that sounds. So I can finish healing her. Because if I stop healing her now, which I kind of have to, because I can't finish fixing her, if I don't make her like this, and I get rid of what I just did to her now, she's not going to let me finish the job. Okay. Fix her anyway. Because here's the thing. If you take that part of her brain away, the part where she's more likely to like you, the part that real fucked up thing you did, if you can prove to her that not only did you do what you could for her body, you fixed the damage to her mind, she might be more willing to trust you, Amy. Maybe you should do this. Yeah, I will. I promise. Just let me not do it right now. Amy, fix her. And, Amy's response to this eventually is, I'm going to take my big sis and I'm going to leave. So Glory Girl just grabs her and flies away. And it is easily one of my favorite parts of the arc. Because as I have said a few times, Panacea is one of my favorite characters. And it's because of how interesting I think her psyche is. It is that moment of, I want nothing more than to fix this person that I broke. Okay, maybe not nothing more than to fix her. Maybe I do want something more. And maybe now that she's relying on me and I have the influence and the literal power to do it, maybe I don't want to fix her. No, like I will, but I mean, maybe it won't. And I love how Tattletale's like, I can see what's happening. I have all the clues. This is a problem, and I don't want you to cross that line. And there's that little part of me that goes, is that hypocritical? Because she's totally, like, Tattletale is totally fine with Alec using the full extent of his powers. Why is she not okay with Amy doing it? I was like, well, I don't feel like it's her being a hypocrite. I think it is genuinely, Alec has crossed that line, and Alec has no qualms about it. Amy has all of the qualms. Amy does not want to cross that line. That's why she had her rules. And she had even said, I feel like if I break my rules, I'm a lost cause. It's like, you broke your rules, Amy. You did a bad. You can fix this. You don't have to go off the slippery slope. And I feel like Lisa, despite the fact that how do I say this delicately? Despite the fact that she's Lisa and often lacks basic human empathy, which, don't get me wrong, one of my favorite characters in the story, but Lisa kind of has this thing where she lacks empathy for people, with Taylor being kind of the one exception. It's like Taylor is her morality chain. She is empathizing hard with Amy. I don't want you to destroy yourself. And if you don't fix this problem, you never will. You have to do this now. And Amy says no. It's more nuanced than that. It is, I want to make sure that I can fix her. And if I take away this kind of the power of suggestion that I've almost kind of put in her brain, she might not let me fix her, and I have to make sure she gets fixed. But there does seem to be that kind of, if I don't, and I mean, if I leave this in, and I find it super interesting. And Lisa even says, she's like, look, Amy, I'm gonna be dead ass. We were talking. We were thinking, like, do you want to join our club? Because we think you'd be a great member. You have a great power. It's so useful. And I mean, granted, there's probably stuff that we do that you wouldn't want to do. And like, well, that's okay. We can accept that. We can work with that. But this feels wrong. And again, I feel like the reason this feels wrong compared to how it is with Alec, it is just the intent. And it's Alec understands fully who he is and embraces it, for better or for worse. The fact that Amy is pulling a Taylor. It's, I'm sorry, I just realized what I said. It's like Taylor's about to be a verb, or skittering, I guess. You are saying you're a good person, and you have the opportunity to do a good thing, and you are just doing the opposite and digging yourself deeper. I feel like we should try to stop this. We've already enabled it with one person unknowingly. I'm not going to knowingly enable someone else. And I really, really loved that. So Amy and Glory Girl leave. Then we've got the Undersiders and the Travelers again. The Under-Travelers? The Travel-Sider? I don't know. Travel-Siders sounds stupid, but it kind of rolls off the tongue. I'm gonna go with that. So the Travel-Siders are like, okay, we have to find Jack and Bonesaw. The bombing? That goes against the rules of outside assistance. If they escape, so first, I mean, if Jack escapes Brockton Bay, he's going to bring about the end of the world. That's bad. If he's left to his own devices in Brockton Bay, they're going to use their penalty, and that might be worse. Or, I mean, it's not going to be worse than the end of the world, but it's... End of the world is a long-term problem. Not super long. I don't remember what the time frame was. I think it might have been 5 years, because I feel like I made a David Bowie joke with that. We at least have a few years. This will be a now problem. We have to find him. We have to kill him. And if we can kill Bonesaw, too, and Siberian, then great. So they go to find them. Taylor finds them in a shelter. I think she was like, this is probably where they are. So she finds Legend fighting Siberian. And this is for sure when she's using the truck sword. I thought that was super neat. Taylor is able to get, like, inside the shelter, use her bugs to find Jack and Bonesaw, and Siberian's stand user is able to damage them, but everyone is able to escape. And unfortunately, Jack, Bonesaw, and Siberian get out. They specifically notice Siberian's stand user has a couple tattoos on his hands. I think one was of a cauldron. And I'm like, oh, I know what that is. That's cauldron. That's the we give people superpowers shit. The other is of a swan, and that was just neat. I didn't really know what that meant. Legend seemed to know what it meant, and then when you get to his interlude, we really know what that means. Which, you know, pin in that. We'll get to the interlude when we get to the interlude. Legend, if I'm remembering correctly, is like, all right, well, that's a problem, but at least we kind of know how to deal with Siberian. Skitter, thanks. You know, did you maybe do a whole lot? Maybe not, but like, genuinely, the fact that you were helping, I appreciate that. You were able to give me some things. Go to your team. So she goes back to the travel sliders, and then we get the Plague of Egypt. So I just want to check my notes. Was there anything in like that second chunk that I feel like I missed? Oh no, I definitely did. I don't even have to see my notes for that. It was specifically there is a second bombing while they're looking for Jack and Bonesaw. There is a second bombing that happens, and Piggy specifically tells Crawler there's a second bombing coming and it's gonna be real badass. If you're who you think you are, like, if you're him, you will stay and take it. And Crawler's like, I am him. I'm gonna stay and take it. And then when Skitter was talking to Legend after fighting Siberian, he's like, okay, so Mannequin died, and Crawler died too. And there's nothing later in the arc, because there's still like several hours after that, there's nothing later that contradicts that. I am assuming Mannequin and Crawler are in fact both dead. Which, like I said, breaks my heart with Crawler because I really wanted to see him fight an Endbringer, see him fight Lung. My buddy had already told me it's not going to happen, but let's see, is there anything else? The second bombing, the Cauldron Cats. Yeah. So let me get to the penalty. So the penalty is the water turns red, almost like blood, and then this red mist and miasma starts spreading throughout the city. And at first, my brain went, blood turned red. Or, excuse me, believe it or not, blood turns red. Water turned red. Water turned to blood. That's the first plague. Well, was that technically a plague? Yeah, that was the first plague of Egypt. That wasn't just like a cool thing he did. It's the first cool thing Moses did, but like the snakes. I'm like, is that what's about to happen? Are we about to get the plagues of Egypt in Brockton Bay? Like, we're getting frogs, we're getting boils, we're getting locusts. Skitter gonna get like a whole herd of locusts? That's gonna be crazy. Is Jack and Siberian the angels of death who are like gonna kill the firstborn of every house? We're getting like the 10 days of darkness. Was it 10 days? I don't remember how long it was. So like, are we getting like the darkness? Are we getting, hail and blood mixed together? This is gonna be crazy. We don't get all the plagues of Egypt, and I'm not mad that we didn't. That was just me going, okay, is this what this is setting up? Because that is insane. That would be insane. We don't get it. What the mist does is I don't remember what the word for it was, but it messes with people's minds. It's not that it gives them amnesia, because they still remember. It's like, okay, do I know who I am? Yes. Do I know where I am? Yes. Do I know the events that are happening? Yes. Do I remember my team? Ish. I know the names, and I know kind of vaguely some of the things we did together. I don't know their faces. I don't know their faces. I don't know their personalities. I don't know what their powers are. And this hits the whole city. And the longer it's in you, the more just paranoid you get of everyone. This was awesome. This was so cool. Taylor not knowing who to trust, what's going on, of like Legend just fighting everybody. Like, he is fighting the wards, he's fighting the PRT. Oh, I don't remember if it was this part or in part 13 where they kind of they mentioned that Arms Master is no longer in his prison. He's just out and about. I think that was in 13. It might have been mentioned here. Like, they don't follow up on that. I don't know where the fuck Arms Master is, but thought I would bring that up real quick. But Legend is just using weakened laser. Like, you remember that line from Toy Story? I've set my laser from stun to kill. He did the opposite of that, where he set his lasers from kill to stun. I was like, I don't know who's a problem. I'm going to assume everyone is, but just in case they aren't, I'm not going to have any blood on my hands. There's this like little fight between Legend and Vista, and like Vista and Taylor. It's like, this is kind of super neat. This is dope. Eventually, Taylor comes along. She finds Lisa and she finds Brian. And as they're talking, I think Lisa, puts her head on the ground. Taylor has a gun, so she puts her head against the gun and is like, look, I trust you, Skinner. My power is telling me that you're someone I can trust, and I do. Search your feelings. They hit them with the Star Wars shit. It's like, trust your feelings. My feelings say I trust you. Do your feelings say that you should trust me? And then Brian goes up to her, just gives her a big hug. It's like, what are your feelings telling you? Telling me this is a nice hug. Okay. We're in. We're good. I'm sorry. Just, this place is such a fucking shit show. Then Lisa turns to her and just, chastises her for swearing. That might actually just dead-ass straight up be my favorite part of Arc 14. Because that's Bonesaw's thing. And I'm like, oh, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. So that means either A, she is genuinely with Brian, but with Bonesaw there, or more likely than not, that's Jack freaking Slash. That's really, really bad for Skinner. Oh. Because, especially in these last few arcs, I've been kind of thinking, it's like, man, Worm would be a pretty good TV show. I could see it working. I wouldn't say that every arc would be a season, because Arc 1 is not a season. Arc 1 is the pilot. It's maybe 2 episodes, but you can probably do it in 1 episode, especially if you're alright, first episode, a longer premiere or something. I feel like you could probably end a season around Arc 3 or 4. The Endbringer fight, that's the end of a season right there for sure. But it's kind of stuff I've been thinking of. It's the Slaughterhouse 9 arc, these 3 arcs together, that's probably a season or so. And then you get a scene like this, where I was taking a walk when I was listening to it, and I just kind of stopped. My blood went a little bit cold, and I just went, oh. You can't adapt this scene in a visual medium. Because it's not that Taylor doesn't see their faces. She doesn't know whose face it is. So when she looks at Bonesaw and Bonesaw says, I'm Tattletale, Taylor doesn't know that. Taylor doesn't know the difference. Visually speaking, we would just be seeing Bonesaw and Jack Slash lying to her and Taylor falling for it, which we would still understand what's going on in her head. The only way I could see it really working is when they're talking to her. You don't really see their faces, but I mean, it's not that the face is muddled or even that the voice is obscured. It's just she doesn't understand it. So there's kind of no way to read the scene and be like, okay, maybe she is talking to Lisa. Oh no, she's not. In a visual medium. That kind of disappoints me a bit, because I'm like, damn, that's one of the best parts, to me, genuinely one of my favorite parts of the story so far. Couldn't really be, the only way it would work in a visual medium is in a visual novel, where it just doesn't show the sprite of whoever's talking. It's just, it just kind of has the dialogue for Lisa, or maybe they are obscured there because she just doesn't know, and then, don't swear that you clearly see Bonesaw spray and go, I don't know. It was just a really good scene. But she's walking with Jack and Bonesaw, who are trying to get information from her. There's a heroine that follows them that I don't know who it was. You later hear that Battery got badly injured and she died. Which, oh. After that interlude from Battery, I was like, cool, I guess you're going to be an important part of the story going forward. Especially now that it seems we're going to be dealing with Cauldron, and you also got your powers from Cauldron, and Cauldron told you, alright, Siberian and Shatterbird get out of the city. Like, interesting shit. Oh, never mind. I guess they're gone. Rip. I'm assuming it was Battery, and they were able to stop her and do shit. I don't know for sure. But Jack and Bonesaw are trying to get Skitter to kill somebody, and Skitter is saying, no. If this person is down and not a threat, we don't have to kill them. Also, my teammates wouldn't push me to kill somebody. And Jack is doing what he can, and he, like, pulls the traitor angle, because I think that's probably information they had from Cherish. And it's almost kind of working, but not really. And again, it was really interesting shit. I absolutely loved this part of the story. They call up Coil, who is in his underground bunker, so he's unaffected by this. And he's like, okay, here's the thing, Skitter. If you can't verify, like, who you are, who you're with for sure, there's only so much information I can really give you. But they want to talk to Cherish because they want to find Amy, because Amy, being the healer, could maybe fix this problem. So they get in touch with Cherish, who is like, oh, you've got Tattletale and Gru with you. Sure. And she says some shit in Latin, which I don't actually know what she said, but it was directed to Jack, and then Jack afterwards, like, cool, I'm going to destroy the world. So she was telling him that, letting them know where she is, and kind of like, hey, I'm giving you some interesting info for free. Please go easy on me. Please. And so after this, he's at a point where she, says the shit in Latin. Coil's like, I have no idea what the hell you just said. Come on, Coil. You're supposed to be the very refined supervillain. You don't even speak Latin. It really doesn't do well for your image. I love Cherish. Sad to see her go? Because, there's maybe a way. She's not dead. She's not dead. There's a non-zero chance she comes back. I guess at this point, it might be a 0 chance because, the story's done. People know, but, I don't know. I'm not going to check. I might check. I'm a little tempted, but I don't want to. If it happens, it happens. Anyways, tells them where Panacea is. She's in Arcadia High. Jack and Bonesaw turn on Skitter, who's able to escape. So they're on their way. He's like, I'm going to end the world. This is dope as hell. So they go to Arcadia High to find Amy. Either we make her a party member, which is great, or we kill her. Either way, we take her off the board so she can't fix the problem. So Skitter is going to Arcadia High. They all get there. By the time she gets there, Jack and Bonesaw are already talking to Amy. And she has Victoria with her? I don't know if you can still call it Victoria. I don't really know what it was. It was like this cocoon of meat. And I was listening to this in the car. Clay and I think we're going to get ramen. And I'm just listening to Worm. And there's just kind of this point where he was like, what the fuck is that? They're talking. And essentially what Jack is trying to say is look, kiddo. I get that you have your code. What if you just didn't? What if you could live free of guilt and free of shame? I do. Bonesaw does. That's what the 9 is. It is freedom. It is freedom to be who you are, to express yourself. I'm an artist. Bonesaw is an artist. You, Amy Gallon. Actually, he doesn't call her that. He calls her something else. I don't remember what he called her. I think he keeps calling her Amelia, and I think he might have had another last name, which I assume was... it's not Marquis. I learned that. I think it's actually pronounced Marquis, or Marquis. I think it is Marquis. Marquis, I didn't like that. I think it's Marquis. Might be. And he's like, I think he's using his last name. He says, your father had a code of honor, and I wanted him to break it. And I pushed him hard, but he never broke it. He did... What was the girl's name? I don't remember. I remember it was that's... She's a fucking Nazi. That's kind of a badass name. But it was the woman that he killed, and because of that, the girl's dad vowed like a blood oath of vengeance against Marquis, which was, you killed my daughter, I'll kill yours when she's about that age. They talk about how, like, no, he never did that. His thing was women and children are off limits. He was a real piece of shit. But he had his morals and he always upheld them. I tried to break him. I couldn't. And you know what? My loss. And I respect a man that gives me an honest to God earned L. Your dad never killed that woman. I don't remember if Jack said that he did or not. I don't think he did. My theory on that is it might be that it's possible that she died giving birth to Amy. I don't know if that's something that's ever confirmed or not, but that's believable. He didn't kill her, but he in that way is still responsible for her death. Like, I can see that. But anyways, he's like, Amy, you can live free of guilt. You can live free of shame. You can be happy. Why would you not want that? And there's a point, there was this one dialogue exchange I really liked, which essentially boiled down to, like, Jack was saying some shit and Amy's like, okay, I have to disagree with that. Can I? Will you kill me if I disagree with you? Dear girl, I'll kill you if you don't disagree with me. I really enjoyed it. But, like, she says her piece. Skinner comes in with her piece and starts fucking shooting. Everything goes to shit. Bonesaw starts running. Meat Cocoon, Glory Girl chases after her. Jack Slash starts dual wielding. I'm like, that's actually really cool. And he's trying to fuck with Skinner, and he's talking about how he's like, I really wish I nominated you for the 9. Like, the information I had on you, like, from Cherish was bad info. You are the exact kind of person that I want on my team, kiddo. But they're able to fight Jack and Bonesaw off. They disappear somewhere. Amy uses her power to fix Skinner. She's like, please, I don't use my power on brains. Please, I don't use my power on brains. Amy, I swear to God, if you don't help me right now and this entire fucking city goes to waste because of you and your refusal to help me, I will kill you myself. Fine. So, again, she can't just snap her fingers. She's like, okay, it's a parasite. That's how I fix the parasite. Blah, 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 blah. There's at least one point where they do talk about, like, bodily fluids, because that's how you transfer the cure. And I love Doctor Strangelove, so I'm just thinking of, like, precious bodily fluids, which made me laugh really hard. But Skinner ends up, now that she's cured, is like, okay, I can actually recognize people, finds Rachel and Tattletale, shows up, is trying to explain shit to them and talk to them, and Rachel is being Rachel. And so eventually, she just gives her a smooch. What the hell? Oh, I recognize you now. Oh, that worked. So then, she has to kiss Lisa, and like, okay, just no tongue, got it. So they kiss, and my brain just goes, she been smooching with everyone. She been smooching with Cliff. Which I think is one of my favorite scenes in Home Alone 2. I freaking love that. No, it's not true. Get on your knees and tell me you love me. Do you have Tim Curry? I love you. It's gold. But so she smooches the two of them and is like, okay, Rachel, you now that you're cured, you use your precious bodily fluids to cure people. I don't know, just like spit in a water bottle and pour it on someone, and we're gonna go find the 9. We're gonna go see if we can kill Jack and Bonesaw. So they go to where Cherish is being held, and they find a bunch of people there, like, okay, this is probably the 9. Yeah, somehow, somewhere along the way, they find out about Hookwolf, that Hookwolf, I don't remember how or when, that's essentially Hookwolf, while under the effects of the paranoia and the mist, left with the Slaughterhouse 9. So while they did get a new member, and it's technically a volunteer, it's not really in the spirit of the rules, but again, the rules were broken, so at that point it's all fair game, and it's also the 9. They weren't playing by the rules at the start. Remember how it's supposed to be, hey, you can get... Yeah. When a member of the Nine is conducting tests, they can't get any direct help from other members, and then Burnscar just shows up and is like, yeah, I'm going to help Mannequin. That's against the rules. I won't tell if you don't. And then, all right, I tagged in. Get fucked. I really liked that. Though it is disappointing that we didn't really get to see some of the other tests. Like, I think we kind of saw Bonesaw and Amy in that one interlude where Bonesaw is formally introduced. But we didn't get to see her, like, test Alec. That sounds interesting. We didn't get to see any of Jack's tests. I don't think him talking to Panacea really counted. Like, I was kind of looking forward to whatever Jack Slash was cooking. But they get to the boat. It's actually none of the Nine. It's just a bunch of decoys. And there's a letter from Jack saying, hats off, Brockton Bay. Our loss. Most of you survive. Okay. Alec, Colin, Amy, Rachel, the enigmatic Noel, Huckwolf. Yeah, none of them died. But it's like, congratulations. None of y'all died. A lot of my people did. It is our loss. We have ourselves a new member. We will be leaving. Don't worry about Cherish. She's currently experiencing every negative emotion that is being felt within Brockton Bay, amplified to a most unpleasant degree. She is currently in the bottom of the ocean experiencing this, and because of what Mannequin provided, she is going to be there for a long, long time. Best regards, kill you later, Jack Slash. So, like, alright, so, we went from a Slaughterhouse 9 that was technically a Slaughterhouse 8. Burnscar's dead. Mannequin's dead. Siberian's dead. Shatterbird is captured. Cherish is in the bottom of the lake. We went to a Slaughterhouse 3. But I guess 4 because of Wolf. Like, damn. Undersiders did work. I mean, Piggy technically got 2 of them, but it's like, yeah, I mean, Brockton Bay did some work. That is a net win. I think that's how it ended, without going into the interludes. Before I do the interludes, I just kind of want to check. Is there anything that I missed? Let's see. No, it's basically it. So we get the 2 interludes. The first one is Sierra, who is one of Skitter's minions. I just love the fact that Slumlord Skitter has minions. It's one of her 2 minions. The former ABB members start giving her and Charlotte trouble and are threatening them, like they're going to kill them, they're going to torture them, they're going to steal all their shit. And then Skitter walks in. And I'm just imagining Taylor is just so tired. She has had a very, very long few days. She has not slept well. She's stressed. And now she comes home and she just wants to relax, maybe eat something, and she sees this shit. So she takes care of the problem. She doesn't kill anybody. She uses brown recluses to bite them, and it's like, they aren't actually brown recluses. I was just messing with them, but they're not going to be a problem any longer. And it's just kind of what happened. I didn't really care for it that much. I don't think it was bad. I was just like, this was fine. I just really appreciated very tired Skitter. It ends with Legend's interlude. Legend goes to PRT headquarters with a meeting of some of the big ends, like himself, Alexandria, Eidolon, and some like members of Cauldron, like the Doctor. And they talk about how most of the heroes of the PRT did not get their powers through trigger events. They are from Cauldron. And Legend brings up, the pin out of Siberian, that he recognized those tattoos. That's William Manton. And I went, ooh, I know who that is. At least kinda. You know, he was the researcher. That was the Manton effect guy. How bad is that? That this dude who is like a big researcher into superpowers is Siberian. Like, is that a... I mean, it's not good, but it's whatever. Or is that bad? He also talks about how Battery died and how she had told him, Cauldron told me that Siberian and Shatterbird have to leave the city. Alexandria stands up for Cauldron during the meeting. Eidolon stands up for Cauldron during the meeting. And when Legend goes back to like his personal like headquarters, he re-watches the meeting with some lie detection technology given to him by Kid Win. And it just is like lie. Cauldron knew about Manton. Cauldron is a problem. And of the Protectorate's big three, 2 of them are deep in Cauldron's pockets. And it seems that Cauldron is going to be the next major antagonist after. Along with Coil, because Coil, it's Cauldron is going to be the problem. They are the ones who've done human experimentation, which is what made a lot of the members of Fault Line's crew. That's what made the Project Nemesis, is what I'm assuming, is the powers in a can that Skidmark had. I'm assuming once Cauldron really becomes like the main antagonist, I don't know if they're going to be the main antagonist like a few arcs like the 9, or if they're like the big bad of the entire story. We're going to be seeing a lot more of Fault Line and her crew. That actually sounds really fun and really interesting. I'm very much looking forward to that. I think that's about it for part 14. So it looks like I felt it this time. It looked like the vibes were here. It was about an hour. The last few Worm videos have been about an hour, so that all tracks. Yeah, I'm a couple hours, like 2.5-ish into part 16. No, part 15. This one I think is 8 hours. The next one's like 10 hours. So I don't know when I'm going to be done with it. But it's good so far. This one was good. Looking forward to seeing what happens next.